we back, y'all. Now we checking out the Rap City Top 10 list, June 28th, 1996. Oh, by the way, I'm representing 1996 today. This is an Atlanta Olympics dead stock t-shirt from 1996. Of course, the X hat, super iconic. This right here, these clothes that came out during the era of the 96 Olympics are available on the site right now. If you look down, like where the Grussel Media name is at, you'll see the store. You can go ahead and you can cop some 1996 flavor. This is all from that era, either brand new or dead stock or lightly used, but dry cleaned, official. I'm definitely going to have a lot more classic vintage gear. Everyday 9-6, shop 9-6. That's all me. It's all legit. And yeah, get you some official 1996 gear. Y'all want to take it back? Let's take it back for real. Not just in the music, but fashion as well. Because this is still fire. The whole Atlanta 1996 Olympic line, there was mad different brands that participated. I was going to do a whole recap on it back in 2016, but I just didn't have the time to put everything together. So I'm kind of revisiting all those things now. This is 2026, so this is 30 years after the 1996 Olympics. But if you want to check out some of the exclusive gear that we have, go to grusselmedia.com and you can just review the section that we have. So boom, let's go through the top 10 real quick, and then we'll talk about some other things, all right? So number 10, we got Lord Finesse featuring Sadat X, Grand Poobah, and Large Professor. Is called Actual Facts. If you look at the video, we got DITC in the building. You got Fat Joe, Mixer cameo appearance. Love the comments. They said Joe was capping, playing the bass. Shout out to Fat Joe. Rest in peace to Big L. Big L was also in that video. I think I saw KRS-One, if I'm not mistaken, as well. But yeah, a lot of cameos in that first video. Lord Finesse, DITC represent. Number 9 was Nas featuring Lauryn Hill, If I Ruled the World. Nas is going from Queensbridge to like the mafioso world. He was definitely expanding his fan base, and that single was a monster. Now, that was one of the singles that YouTube cut off. Now, for the record, when I first uploaded this Rap City episode, YouTube banned it. It was banned everywhere. So basically YouTube, you know, they'll say, hey, if we cut this, we cut that, we cut this. I said, nah, let me try to make some cuts. Re-uploaded it, got banned again. So at that point, I said, all right, YouTube, whatever y'all want to do with the video, YouTube, go ahead, do your thing. So that's why the Nas featuring Lauryn Hill was cut. Then there was also another joint that was on the top 10, the Fugees Cowboy joint. So all I could think of was both Nas and the Fugees were under Columbia Records. So maybe Columbia just blocks the audio visuals of artists that they have. Yes, YouTube did clip off some of the videos that I tried to post. It wasn't me deleting videos. It was just YouTube saying, nah, YouTube is going to take their cuts. It's just how they do. All right. Number 9, like I said, Nas featuring Lauryn Hill, If I Ruled the World. Imagine that. Major crossover moment for Nas. We all understand that. Next thing we got is Mobb Deep, Back at You. You know what I'm saying? Off of the Sunset Park soundtrack. Now, back during this time, soundtracks were a major thing, right? And as a matter of fact, let me pull this up real quick if y'all don't mind. So back in the days, soundtracks were a major deal. Here was some of the hotter soundtracks from around that time. So in 1994, we had Above the Rim. Tupac had a joint on there. Warren G, Nate Dogg, of course, Regulate. Murder Was the Case, also in 94. Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, and Ice Cube. We had New Jersey Drive, for real, Redman, Queen Latifah. We had Friday soundtrack with Ice Cube and Cypress Hill. Dangerous Minds, which was a huge soundtrack. That Gangsta's Paradise, that record was everywhere. 95, and then of course the one we're referring to right now, Sunset Park with Mobb Deep. Aaliyah had a joint on there as well. And then the Nutty Professor with Jay-Z and Montel Jordan. Soundtracks were a major way for artists to get extra light. We come from an era where, like, I was working at Burger King making minimum wage in 1996. So you couldn't buy every album. See, y'all younger generation, y'all definitely are kind of spoiled in a sense where you could just log on to YouTube or Amazon or Spotify or Apple and just pick an album and just roll with it. Back in the days, we had to go to the store physically and cop our music. And I might have $20 to spend, you know what I'm saying? And $20 will get you basically 2 cassette albums. CDs were like much more expensive than that. So a lot of times what I would do and what a lot of people would do is if, like, let's say there was like 4 different artists that dropped, and typically Tuesdays was the drop. So this Rap City episode came out on June 28th, 1996, which is a Friday. And if you see the album promos, the Nas album dropped on July 2nd, which would have been the next Tuesday. So it wasn't Fridays. Tuesdays was the major music drops. And if I had $20 after working at Burger King, I might only be able to cop 1 or 2 albums. You know what I'm saying? If I got a CD, that'd be like $15.99 or $13.99, whatever it was back then. So what a lot of people would do is we would cop soundtracks, because soundtracks would give you the best of a little bit of everything. You know what I'm saying? So if you're getting a soundtrack, you're getting multiple artists that you rock with. And of course, mixtapes were definitely a thing back then too. See, there was a lot of different mixtape DJs that were making noise back in 94, 95, 96. And that was sort of my go-to, because I didn't make a lot of money. So for me, it was like, instead of copying somebody's album, unless I really, really rock with the artist, something like It Was Written, I definitely would have copped, right? But for newer artists, like, you know, I would just go with the soundtrack, or I would go with a mixtape, so that way I can get a little bit of everything. And then oftentimes what we would do is, like, if one of your boys or one of your homegirls had an album on CD or cassette, you would just trade. So that's how we used to do back then, you know. But if you traded a CD or a tape with somebody, it was a risk. And it might not even be somebody being grimy and not give it back to you. We're from that era where your cassette tapes might get jammed up inside the boombox. You know what I mean? You didn't even mean it. You just put the cassette in, and your tape deck did something wild, flagrant to it, and now the tape is broke, or the CD got scratched somehow as you were trying to put it into the system. Like, things happen. So, you know, after a while, it got to the point where people wasn't trying to trade music. So now y'all got it where y'all could just literally wake up, roll over, and just go on your phone and listen to whatever album you want to. But back then, it was a lot different. It was a lot more of an event to actually go to the store, look through the whole catalog of albums, unless you knew for sure, like, oh, this album just came out, I'm gonna just go grab this. Get home, open up the tape or the cassette or the CD, and, you know, put it in and listening. And while you're listening, you're reading the liner notes. I wanted to be in the entertainment industry, you know, since as a young kid, like 12, 13, I knew that that's what I wanted to do. So for me, reading the liner notes of the CD or the cassette, it was very educational for me. And that's how I was able to know a lot of people in the industry before I got there, like in terms of like knowing names. So that's something that really helped me out a lot. Reading in general helped me to gain access into the industry, because those magazines, I read every rap magazine that came out back then. This is like pre-internet. You know what I mean? The internet was there in 97, 98, but it was not everybody had access to it. And then if you had it at home, it was dial up. It was extremely slow. And that's why I was so happy that I went to college in 98. We had access to the internet. I was able to book internships through the internet. You know what I mean? So that'll be a different conversation for later on. But I just wanted to add the emphasis of the importance of soundtracks during that time and the type of weight that a soundtrack held back then. Because some people were saying, like, Jay-Z, you know what I'm saying? He had the #2 video over even Tupac and Snoop Dogg. First of all, there was that whole conversation where people were trying to like downplay Jay-Z. And like I said on the short that I produced, it wasn't like Jay-Z was the biggest artist in the world. He wasn't bigger than Big. He wasn't bigger than Nas. He definitely wasn't bigger than Tupac. But he was making noise during this time. You got to remember, he was doing Clue freestyles. And then by him getting this joint with Foxy Brown, that ended up on the Nutty Professor soundtrack, one of the top films of that summer. So the soundtracks usually got as much play as the actual movie. Sometimes people would love the soundtrack more than the actual movie. But if you ended up on one of those soundtracks back then, it was pretty much guaranteed that especially if it was released as a single, it was guaranteed that you were definitely going to come up off of that. So that's a big part of why the Jay-Z joint was so big, the attachment to the Nutty Professor soundtrack. So I have to say that I was born in New York and I moved to Jersey at the age of 12. So people in my area of Jersey and of NYC and directly outside of NYC, like the Westchester, Rockland County area, we knew about Jay-Z. It wasn't like Jay-Z was some secret rapper that nobody knew about. That's not what it was. So as I said before, YouTube definitely cut off a lot of the pieces. One of the things that y'all was loving was the commercials. Now that I know that people appreciate the commercials, we're going to keep commercials. Any old content that we share, commercials are going to be there. So this is like one of the commercials that they cut out. Once again, number 9 was Nas, If I Ruled the World. I didn't cut it, but unfortunately, YouTube cut it. We just finished talking about Mobb Deep, the Back at You joint. One of my favorite Mobb Deep songs ever. Definitely one of the coldest soundtrack records out, period. This was just ridiculous. And somebody had commented, I didn't like the edited version either. But even now in 2026, I appreciate the edited version. I'm not going to hold you, man. Rest in peace to Prodigy, man. Such a loss. Such a loss. And big ups to Havoc. Classic joint right here, man. Let's see. Now, this definitely gathered a lot of love. The Tupac and Snoop Dogg St. Ives commercial. Once again, this was out on YouTube already, but it's just to see it in real time, to see it in the mix of how it would have been saw back then. Like you just watching a regular, video, and then it just jumps to this. It's like, wow, man. Yeah, this was dope. All the St. Ives commercials were fire. Now, mind you, I was 16 when this came out. Now, one of y'all did mention the fact that, there were a lot of liquor commercials that were in this Rap City video, and they placed it like Rap City was on after school, right? 4:00, I believe. Somebody did mention correctly that this did come on Saturday mornings as well. I don't know if it was a replay, but I think the top 10 came on Fridays and then it was replayed on Saturdays. Correct me if I'm wrong. It was 30 years ago. So I don't remember every single little tidbit. Politely correct me, yo. I'll make the change. I'll even throw you the credit for it. You know what I'm saying? I have no problem doing that. We don't got to get disrespectful when it comes down to how we correspond with each other. Brussels Media, this is a positive space. If y'all haven't noticed, it's whenever we share old videos, I never try to regurgitate any beef. For me, this is a historical archive. Brussels Media is not just a page, a faceless YouTube page of people just uploading random clips. I plan on doing a lot more correspondence over the next couple months and years, and we're going to have a lot of deep conversations. Some of them are going to be very lighthearted, but some of them be a little bit more serious, man. And it makes me wonder, because I know the audience of Rap City was a lot of teenagers back then. And there was so many liquor commercials that as a teen, as a kid, you're not really realizing it, but it looks cool. They made alcohol look so cool, man. And it's just kind of bugged out today in my 40s, like really like making a connection and being like, wow, what was really happening back then? But I want to have some historical conversations. I want to talk about the gangster rap era. Retrospect now that I'm a grown adult. I remember being 12, 13 years old, 92, 93. I grew up with the years corresponding. So I'm 16 in 96. I'm 17 in 97. But I remember in 92 being 12 and the whole gangster rap being banned conversation is coming up. It seeped into politics. It became a big issue, like what we're listening to and how it impacts us. If you remember those days, you can definitely drop a comment about that. But I'm going to do a whole episode, a whole deep dive about how music, video games, and movies to an extent were looked at as basically like brainwashing us as children, as kids back then. And how did it impact us as grown adults? Can we have that mature conversation? Is that something y'all want to talk about? Anyway, this is the Nas promotion for It Was Written. And somebody mentioned in the comments that this was a bridge. This is in the mix of the East Coast, West Coast conflict. I hate to say war, because it's so corny the way that the magazines kind of really blew it out of proportion. Yes, there was obviously tension and there was beef between a couple artists, but they turned it into this whole coastal thing, not realizing like a lot of dudes on the West loved East Coast rappers, and a lot of us on the East, we love West Coast rappers, man. We love Dre and Snoop, man. Come on, bruh. But this was the bridge, and it played the song Nas Is Coming, which was the Dr. Dre produced song. You know what I'm saying? So Nas and Dre were trying to really bridge that gap. And this is, you know, of course, a couple months before Pac unfortunately passes away. This was definitely monumental. So July 2nd would have been that Tuesday on CDs and cassettes. So yeah, we were still copping cassettes back then. You know what I'm saying? The first CDs that I actually brought were 97. I was still buying cassettes in 96. The first 2 CDs that I ever purchased with my own money was In My Lifetime, Volume 1, Jay-Z, and CNN War Report. They were out around the same time. I remember holding them CDs in my hand because the War Report, that CD cover, the back with the gas mask, that was so ill, man. So I remember coming home, unwrapping those, popping them in my CD player. It was a different era, y'all. It really made you appreciate music a lot more because it wasn't just easy peasy, just click and then you got your music. Like you had to go to the store, you had to get the music. You know what I'm saying? So it was a little bit different. And the radio was such a bigger thing back then. So big. Hot 97 was the whole world for many of us. That's why even to today in 2026, people like they say, you still listening to the radio? A lot of my generation, we revered those times, listening to music, owning music. It was an experience. You know, we didn't take it for granted. Like, I guess we did because it was just, but looking back, I'm like, yo, it just was crazy times. All right. So more commercials, a lot of barbecue commercials. Like, and it was crazy because some of these commercials played multiple times throughout this episode. Barbecue, sauce commercials, and alcohol commercials. St. Ives. Look like this one right here. This is like a comic book. This looks fun. Like you're not thinking because they were making the alcohol in blue and green colors and Crooked Eye. It looks fun, man. Don't run out. All natural, real fruit juices. You like, oh snap, this is healthy. You a 16-year-old kid. You're gonna want to try this. So I went to college for media arts, right? So I learned a lot about propaganda, advertising through media, commercials, how all of that is designed. So it was definitely trippy going to school and learning about this on a deeper psychological level, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. So this was the boot camp video, specifically Ruck and Rock of Helter Skelter. And once again, I didn't cut this video, y'all. Like YouTube, and I don't know why YouTube cut this video. It didn't even cut the Tupac and Snoop video. I thought it would cut that, but it didn't. It cut this. And I got the feeling once again that the Nas and the Fugees, that made sense because both of them are Columbia Records artists. Maybe Columbia has a block on their visuals. But I'm almost sure that Duck Down was distributed through Priority Records, not Columbia. So it just made it a little strange that this actually happened. So this here is from Helter Skelter's Nocturnal album that dropped in 96. It actually came out, I want to say about a week or two before this episode actually dropped. It came out on June 18th. So this video was absolute fire. And Helter Skelter was one of many groups back then that was making noise. So there was people that liked Duck Down but didn't rock with Wu as much, or they rocked with Wu, didn't rock with Duck Down, or they rocked with Mobb Deep and they wasn't a fan of Helter Skelter. Like there was so much talent out there back then that you couldn't buy every single album. So I didn't buy this album. This is not an album that I brought because it just was so many different choices. You know what I mean? So I might have borrowed this tape off of somebody, but I was more Wu Mob fan than Duck Down, even though I love Black Moon. You know what I'm saying? Love Buckshot. But that's how crazy it was. Like you had to make crucial decisions when you worked back then as a teenager, whether you worked at the fast food or you worked in retail at the mall. When you got your little bit of money, it ain't like today where you can stream 1,000 artists. You had to make choices. You understand? So a lot of us He had to just pick and choose, all right? So that was Operation Lockdown, Helter Skelter. And that was a real creative video, too, at the time from Helter Skelter. Here's another one. So this is Fugees, the Cowboys video. Another one that YouTube decided to cut. And they blocked the heck out of this video. They was like, nah. So once again, they're showing the St. Eyes video again. You know what I'm saying? They like really, and you got Tupac is like a superhero at this time. Snoop too. Like these are two of the biggest stars in the world. Forget music. They're just two of the most recognizable global figures. So like to see them, it's like, dang, Snoop Dogg got the blue and Pac got the orange, the red, Thug Passion. Man, this is crazy. You know what I'm saying? Special brew. Special. Charmin. BT Jazz promo. Number 5, of course, The Crossroads. This is off the East 99 Eternal album. This is a dedication to Eazy-E, their mentor and their CEO of Ruthless Records. Y'all mentioned this, even though I was 16. Yeah, this was a scary video. I ain't gonna lie. This is not a video that you just got up and started moving around. Like, you know how it's like certain videos you only really got to see once or twice? As big as this video was, and this video was huge. This video was everywhere. It wasn't just a Rap City video. This was also a crossover, like a TRL beat, you know, MTV type of record as well. So that was the thing. I would say maybe about 30% of the top 10 you would see on MTV. If any one of these videos hit MTV, then you knew the record was out of there. It was out of there. So this was one of the biggest crossover records in hip-hop history, probably, because I just remember this video being on MTV's top 10 for many, many, many months. And same thing for BET Rap City. Huge. Rest in peace to Eazy-E. And shout out to Bone Thugs. And I miss my Uncle Charles, dog. That's what he said. And I have an Uncle Charles, and he's still here with us. Love you, Uncle Charles. Next video, De La Soul, Stakes is High. This is produced by Jay Dilla. Native Tongues, listen, De La Soul did not make gangster rap music, right? They made conscious music. This is a very conscious record, but this is one of the hardest records De La Soul ever dropped. The beats, the flow, everything, the bars. This record was just tough, man. Just a tough record. Love this record. Yeah, this is off the self-titled album, Stakes is High. This album came out actually the same day that the Nas joint came out. It came out July 2nd in 1996, and the single had came out maybe a week before this episode came out. And just to show you, that Crossroads record going back, the East 1999 Eternal album dropped in 1995, July, and it was still pumping a year later. So that just goes to show you the bigness of that record. But rest in peace to Dove, man. You know what I'm saying? De La Soul, man, classic, timeless record, timeless record. Even as a 16-year-old, I didn't catch everything with this record. Listening to it as a grown man, it's a totally different type of thing. So, yeah, they critiqued hip-hop commercialization, which was not at its height just yet, but it was definitely moving towards that. Let's see. Of course, America's Most Wanted. Huge. All Eyes on Me came out in February. This record is number 3. It's to put it in perspective of how big Tupac was. And like I said, Snoop Dogg as well. Let's not take anything away from Snoop. But Pac was on movies. So like that took him to another stratosphere. But it's eerie now knowing what would happen July, August, September, like 3 months away, that Pac would no longer be here. It's really eerie now. We didn't know. Like, we knew the beef. We read the magazines. We listened to the radio interviews. But it's hard to, like, put it in perspective in terms of, like, yo, that we know that something was going to happen to Tupac and Biggie. Like, we would have never guessed that. And we're in high school, and we lose 2 of the biggest rap stars ever. There's really been no other generation that's faced something like that. And there's been a lot of rappers, unfortunately, that passed away. But imagine being in high school where you know you're more attached to musical people than ever because you're young, you're impressionable, you know what I'm saying? So it's like we look at these rappers like superheroes in a sense, you know, especially growing up in the hood. Like we looked at these rappers like they were bigger than life. So to lose Pac and then Big, like in the same school year, was like crazy, because Pac dies at the beginning of the year, and then the next year in the same school year, Big dies. And it's like, what? I remember, like, we were in high school, people were crying, people were depressed. Like, this was a crazy time, man. And man, it's bugged out to this day. But rest in peace to Tupac, man. Major record. Death Row was dominating. Like, that's all I can really say, man. Like, it was a Death Row thing, man. All right. Oh, original gangster soundtrack. Love this commercial right here. And once again, it's showing the power of soundtracks. Now, that is also how a lot of us gain knowledge on different artists from all over. It was really the soundtracks that would put us on to West Coast, down South artists, because the mixtapes were very regional. Clue wasn't playing a lot of West Coast artists, you know what I'm saying? Or DJ Doo-Wop, Ron G. I'm trying to think about the DJs that were prominent during that 90s era. And that, pardon me, it's just been a minute. So the next episode that I do like this, we'll do a deeper dive. We'll definitely pull out more information. But I'm really just doing this because I just wanted to just show appreciation to y'all for what y'all did, man. City video. This is the Redman and Method Man. This is one of the better ones, I think. Both of them, actually. The Pac one, the Pac and Snoop one, and the Red and Meth one were definitely joints that I would have bumped. You know what I'm saying? Beyond seeing the commercial. And I'm wondering, was there ever like a CD that came out? I think there was, that had all the St. Ives songs on it. And I know on YouTube, somebody linked up all the commercials into like one playlist. So that was cool. McDonald's, huge. Nutty Professor, classic film, of course, man. This is one of the video the commercials they cut. I don't know why, but I'm gonna try to post this on grustlemedia.com, and we'll see what happens. All right, so Ain't No Jigga is what I'm gonna call this one. You got the Big and Dame Dash cameos, of course. Well, you know, Dame Dash is Rockefeller at this time, but there's been so much separation. It's almost like it looks like a cameo now. Foxy Brown, yeah, her debut, man. You know, she was fired. We all had a crush on Foxy. Like, it was like, what? Who is this girl? Of course, Nutty Professor soundtrack. But Jay is a talented rapper at this point. It's not like he's just some regular mofo. We know this guy is next. This dude can rap. And, you know, having Biggie in the video, and this is the second big cameo, by the way, because he also was in a Dead Presidents video with the rapper AZ. So, like, he's getting major cosigns from lyricists that are beloved here on the East, for sure. You know, AZ and Biggie. So, like, he was the next up. There was no, like, discrepancy on that. Like, Jay was the next one. He definitely was. And then last but not least, Crucial Conflict. Hey, and people say, oh, they were shocked that this was the number one. This was the number one record. For weeks, this record was ringing off. And this was a major exposure to us, to the Midwest. Prior to this, we got Twista, of course, and Do or Die, man. Do you want to ride in the backseat of the caddy? So a lot of people try to put off on East Coast, maybe the East Coast adults at that time, people in their early 20s, their mid 20s, maybe they were very bougie towards other regions. Us teenagers, we were not. We would say, yo, this is a fire record. And it was. This record was hot. You know what I'm saying? So, like, yeah, shout out to Crucial Conflict, man. And this was a dope record. And they brought another different type of energy with this. Like, in the barn? What? The video in the barn? Dope. I could not tell you all the members of Crucial Conflict because I don't know. But I know that this record was super dope. And they deserved a respect. Because I don't ever remember this even playing on Hot 97 at the time. But that goes to show you how big the record was. Like, it didn't even need the radio play. Like, this record just was a smash everywhere. People were rocking with it. They were rocking with it. So you see the screen. Next up, at some point in the next couple months, We're not done with 1996. That's it for Rap City for now. But we're gonna jump into a local New York City show from 1996. We're gonna see interviews. We're gonna see a Hot 97, early Hot 97 underground hip hop festival performances. We're not done with the 1996, but once again, man, 96 was definitely a special time. It was a turning point in 1996. It really was. Jay-Z stepping into his own, you know what I mean, debut album dropping, and him becoming the beginnings of him becoming the billionaire that he is today. You got Nas jumping into the commercial aspect of his career, the Fugees, biggest rap group at the time. You can't even understate how big the Fugees were. They were major. They changed the way rap was consumed and listened to in a lot of ways, because Lauryn Hill had the duality of being a singer and a rapper, and she was great at both. That was unheard of really at that time. Bone Thugs and Harmony, major crossover record with the Crossroads. So it was different. Underground, still intact. DITC, Helter Skelter, Mobb Deep, who were a big group, but they still, it wasn't until Murder Music, Quiet Storm, that they started catapulting into a different type of level. So Mobb Deep hadn't hit their official commercialism just yet, but they were definitely on the way. And then the importance of the soundtracks, man. The soundtracks were super important during that time. Death Row had a huge reign going on during that time. And this was probably a perfect snapshot into hip hop before things really start to go left. And that's why people are looking at this video, because it's like, this is the snapshot of hip hop before we lost Pac, before we lost Big. When music started to expand, we started getting more Southern artists that were making moves. The Midwest is making moves. The West was already dominating, but the East is making this strong comeback. They're matching the record sales of the West, when it was written, because Illmatic didn't go platinum when it first came out. I think the Infamous went platinum when it first came out. So there were a lot of East Coast classic records that were not getting the sales that the West was getting. So this is a time where really the culture is just expanding. And for some people will say this is the peak of hip hop culture. In 2026, I hate to sound like an old man, because I am, but it might have been the peak. It might have been a peak. So this was just a Going Grustling podcast recap. My name is D.Bail. I am the curator here at Grustle Media. I started this page just to archive the history of not just hip hop, R&B, pop music. You might even see some rock and roll on my channel. But we're definitely going to expand into some more mainstream stuff. Like I said, I got TRL on deck. Early 2000s TRL. Man, watching it was just like, oh my gosh, man. Because I remember like being 20 versus being 16 is a different era for me. Because now I'm independent. I'm in college. I'm living on my own. So that era hit me a little bit harder than 96, even though 96 is still classic. And we're going to check out this video as well. And you see how much time I got left. You know what I mean? So I can't wait to drop this joint. This is going to be a little bit more regional for people, because if you didn't live in New York City, or you didn't live if you didn't live in New York City during this time, then you don't really know about this show in particular. This is definitely a tri-state theme type of show. And it was on public access, Manhattan News Network, MNN. If you guys know Star, Troy Terrain from Star and Buck Wild, the Star Report and all of that, his first show was on this network, MNN Network. So this was one of the hip hop shows that was on the Manhattan News Network. So anyway, enough talking from me. Check out grustlemedia.com for exclusives. Also check out Shop 1996. All right. We got nothing but exclusives. And let me tell y'all, once again, the quality of the 1996 Olympic gear was amazing. And what I loved about it, there were all different designers. There was Spalding, it was Champion, it was Hanes. There was all these different designers that were able to make these 1996 Olympic clothes. So it was really cool, man. And the gear is fire. You know what I'm saying? If you go into a 90s party or you got a 90s theme event coming up, definitely hit my link below, grab you some exclusives, and they're ones of ones. Once they're gone, they're gone. And stay tuned for more exclusives. Man, I appreciate each and every one of y'all. We are on the road to 10,000 subscribers here at Grussel Media. I'm not asking for no donations. I'm not asking y'all to subscribe to any paid content. All I ask is that you like, you drop a comment, maybe you share it on your socials if you find it to be appropriate. But I can't wait to continue to engage with all of y'all here. And I got so much content on the way. So much content on the way. And I worked in the industry for 20 years. So a lot of what I'm showing you is out of my personal collection. There are some things that I did purchase along the way. But yeah, this is just all organics here. Thank you again for watching, and please consider subscribing and sharing the content. Until next time, y'all, D.Bail signing off. Grussel Media, peace and love. Going Grustling Podcast. 1.